The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome into the latest edition of the award-winning Crossed Flags podcast. I'm Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer Molly in the background, and producer John helping out as well. We appreciate both of their efforts very, very much. Not a whole lot to talk about this week, but I really kind of wanted to get into this because a lot of people have been talking about it, and we've talked about this as well, in that Toyota's got a great pipeline. The problem with the pipeline is the fact that you're bottlenecked. There's not a whole lot of movement at the top.
Nope.
And because of that, you got a whole lot of talent that's just sitting out there, either languishing in the trucks or the O'Reilly Auto Parts series and trying to figure out where are we going to go next. Witness Corey Heim. Corey Heim more than ready to graduate out of the truck series. So they went ahead and pulled him out of the truck series into a part-time role of Cup and little O'Reilly and a little bit of trucks. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of bottleneck we're talking about. Now they've got Brent Cruz out there who's suddenly tearing things up after having missed the first 4 races of the year. The guy's sitting well inside eligibility for the chase.
Yep, he is.
That's Toyota. Chevrolet, not really worried about Chevrolet. They're still doing quite well. They've got plenty of teams all the way from trucks through O'Reilly and all the way up into the Cup Series. So they don't really have the bottleneck situation. They don't have quite the talent situation that Toyota's got, but again, you've got more rides out there that are available. That brings us to Ford. Yeah, good old Ford. Now, Ford's got the Truck Series program, and they're okay. It's not like they're hurting there. They have the Cup Series situation. It could be questioned there. We'll get to the points here in a minute. They have exactly 0 representation for all intents and purposes in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. Hettinger Auto Parts was convinced to run Mustangs, but let's face it, they're a part-time team, Matt.
There's been, now will be the 3rd straight week that there are no Fords on the entry list. And what's surprising to me is Ford told Chris Hettinger, the team owner, that they would throw full season support behind him so we could have another Ford entry. AM Racing's basically disappeared. So Hettinger Racing was basically in a prime spot to take it full reins. They had a decent run at Talladega with J.J. Yaley because they don't have any full season sponsorship. Now, granted, Chris Hettinger's business in North Carolina, Victory Trailer Sales, is a pretty strong business. But where's the support from Ford?
That is a very good question. Plus, we also kind of wonder about the talent pipeline that we were just talking about. It's very well defined within Toyota. Chevrolet is a little bit more spread out. As we mentioned, there's a whole lot of vehicles out there running the Bowtie brand from the Cup to the O'Reilly to the Truck Series level. So I'm not really worried about that. The talent pipeline for Ford is hurting.
Bare.
It's bare. It is the Truck Series jumping straight into the Cup Series if you're going to try and do that, or they're going to have to sign somebody away. And it kind of looks like they're going to have to sign somebody away. So the O'Reilly Auto Parts series is one thing. Let's show you the top 10 in points in the Cup Series here. And this is give or take through a third of the year, points-wise, okay? If you think about it, we're up to the All-Star break. We've run 13 races so far this year. So technically, we're one past a third of the way through the year. Tyler Reddick, no surprise, he's won basically half of all the races run, so he's out to a big lead over Denny Hamlin. Both of them drive Toyotas. In 3rd place is Chase Elliott in a Chevy. Hey, there's Ryan Blaney in a Ford sitting in 5th. He's the only guy who has brought a Ford to victory lane this year, and he did it back at Phoenix, so that was pretty early in the year. Then you got a Toyota, a Chevy. That's Ty Gibbs, Carson Hocevar, Kyle Larson before you get to Brad Keselowski in 9th. And Bubba Wallace in 10th. So you got 2 Fords inside the top 10. Arguably the leader of Team Penske, Ryan Blaney, and RFK Racing's namesake, Keselowski part of it, and Brad Keselowski. But if we switch to the second part of that top 20, go in 11 through 20 here. Christopher Bell in a Toyota, William Byron in a Chevrolet, Ryan Preece in a Ford. That's one of the 3 RFK Racing Fords, right? Daniel Suarez in a Chevy. Here's another Team Penske in Austin Cindric in 15th. And Shane Van Gisbergen, courtesy of his win up at Watkins Glen over the weekend, he jumped back into the top 16, so he's the final one eligible in the chase, just barely bumping out Chase Briscoe, who had a great run, but because of the bonus points that you get for a win, SVG was able to jump over him. Then there's Joey Logano. We're going to talk about him in a second. Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, AJ Allmendinger round out the top 20. In regards
to Ford and their status, let's say that, the only driver to win in Cup, their last 5 victories for Ford, is Ryan Blaney, dating to last June.
Yeah. The only other win, and you might sit there and think, well, wait a minute, Ryan Preece won, didn't he? Yeah, he did, but that was a non-points race. That was the season opener Clash. Mm-hmm. So if you remember that win, no points involved. So Ryan Blaney is the guy holding everything. Team-wise, we used to think that the lead team was Team Penske. Mm-hmm. I'm not so certain we can say that anymore. Because if you look at it, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Preece, all within the top 13. They seem to be the ones towing. Joey Logano, on the other hand, this guy, remember, is a 3-time Cup Series champion. He has the last, 6 races, I think, finished outside of the top 30.
4 of the last 6, he's been below 30th. I remember now.
That hurts. What's going on the 22?
I don't know. They've got nothing but they're snake bit. They're flat out snake bit. That's the only way you can say it.
There are 2 guys who I question right now. It is the inconsistency of the 19 of Chase Briscoe, because it seems like every time he has a bad race, he turns around, has a good race to follow it up, and then backs it up with another bad race. Mm-hmm. And that's why we have talked about him for the past, I don't even know how many weeks on the big show when we run down the Cup Series points, talk about him bouncing in and out right there at the bottom or just outside of the chase standings.
Yep.
But Joey Logano, who began the season pretty solidly and was for a while inside the top 10, and I think even for 1 week was inside the top 5, mm-hmm. has now fallen outside of the points. And not only is he trailing Chase Briscoe in 18th, you look at the number right there, 277 to 245, that's a 22-point drop. Or I'm sorry, a 32-point drop from Chase Briscoe. That's huge. And if Chase Briscoe and James Small can start to get things leveled, even just leveled out on the 19 car, mm-hmm. to the point where they're not yo-yoing all the time, they can start to leave Joey Logano behind them and well behind them.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, what's the future for the Blue Oval? Because right now, other than Ryan Blaney and the collectiveness, I guess we could say, of RFK Racing, you're looking at effectively 4 cars out of the Ford stable that look like they're stable, to use can't think of a better term.
I mean, because years past versus this year, RFK is definitely in another, from a performance level, they're in another zip code for the better. They're performing better. They're more consistent. But you got the 2 and the 22 that's basically dead weight to Penske right now. The 12 is pulling all that weight. And you got the other Fords. The Wood Brothers, they're 2 up and down. Very consistent.
And for all intents and purposes, remember, they're a Team Penske prepared Ford.
Yeah. And
so that's not a good sign either.
No. I mean, for a little bit there, and I'm going to give a reference here, for a little bit there at Talladega, the best performing Ford was the Garage 66 car.
And the interesting thing was, and you and I talked about it on this podcast right afterward, and mentioned it in the big show the week after. If it worked for really him and Cody Ware jumping up there and making everybody go, "Oh, wait a minute, we're going to race.
Well, we're going to have to go.
We're going to have to move it. Otherwise, these guys are going to leave us in a Garage 66 and Rick Ware Racing entry. Then all of a sudden we saw the speeds jump back up from 180 to about 195. Saw a text from last weekend's Big Show talking about how they were kind of finding the racing at Talladega a little bit boring. For the first time in a couple of years, actually, it kind of got exciting because we were watching them race at 195 miles an hour. They're starting to push the envelope a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah, stage 2 and 3 was great.
Yeah, we're fantastic. And I appreciate the fact that you have some of those quote-unquote back markers jumping up there and going, you know what, let's force the issue.
Yeah,
Let's make them actually race at speed.
And then, front row. Front row is mediocre at best right now.
Yeah, usually we can count on them to bring something pretty good to a Talladega, but we really didn't talk about them all that much.
Yeah, they weren't there for some reason.
So Ford's got some soul searching that they've got to do, and I get it. They're in their first year in Formula One, and they're probably looking at some of the other programs and trying to figure out exactly what all's going on. But at some point in time, Ford needs to come back and look at where their bread's buttered. And they really made their racing name where? NASCAR.
They did.
And at some point in time, they're going to have to figure out, are we fishing or are we cutting bait? And going to go concentrate on something else? Or are we actually going to put some money into a couple of programs and try and figure out, number one, how we're going to make our performance a little bit better? I mean, yeah, they've got several cars with inside the top 20, but do I honestly feel like any one of them are a major championship contender at this point in time? And yes, I hate to say it, I include Ryan Blaney on this.
Nope.
I don't.
They're not.
I'm not looking at a blue oval as an honest championship contender right now, a third of the way through the year. They've got to figure something out on that front, number one. And truth be told, number two, they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do about a talent pipeline.
Yeah.
Because while I don't think there are any imminent retirements, anything can happen at any point in time. Witness Brad Keselowski, who is now the co-owner of RFK Racing, and what he did this offseason. How many more times can he go out there and do that kind of stuff and then turn right back around and get back into a car? And I'm not going to tell him he has to retire. Far from it. Far be it from me to tell anybody to quit their job. It's not my job. It's not my place. If you feel like you can do it and you physically can get into, in this case, the car and go do the driving, knock yourself out. But at some point in time, it happens to every single driver. Eventually, they have to step out of the car. The Richard Pettys of the world, the Darrell Waltrips, the Bobby Allisons, the Davey Allisons, unfortunately lost their life like Dale Earnhardt did. But sooner or later, you end up being out of the car. Where's the next generation of the Ford talent?
Right now, the only thing that they have that is within a pipeline that can run NASCAR, that has run NASCAR or run in something else that they're considered in the Ford Performance pipeline is Frankie Muniz. That's it.
And
that's not strong enough.
No, it's not, because Frankie hasn't exactly blown up the truck series, number one. And number two, Frankie, I think, if I remember right, is older than Joey Logano.
No, he is. Yeah, he's older than Joey Logano. Yeah.
So is he really the next generation of the Ford talent to go jumping into the Cup Series?
Ford let him skip out the truck race at Watkins Glen because he had a GT3 race. I think it was Road Atlanta. So somewhere he had a GT3 race because he's third in points in GT3 road race. But where Ford has majorly dropped the ball at, you have one of your pipeline drivers in a Rayom truck. You have your pipeline driver in a Rayom truck. If it was me, I would have one of my pipeline drivers in a ThorSport truck. ThorSport carries your weight in trucks every single week.
Agreed. At the very least, it would certainly benefit them to have a front row motorsports truck, which is a slightly better program at the very least.
It's slightly better with less trucks, but on an average every week, ThorSport carries the weight.
Yeah.
Average. Okay.
Put him out there in the best equipment, see what he can do, because at some point in time, Ford, you got to figure out where you're going to get your next generation of talent.
Something.
And at the same point in time, you got to figure out where your performance is.
Something.
because you're not quite getting it in the Cup Series. The points show it. Yeah, we noticed a number of blue ovals with inside the top 20. But again, both Matt and I agree. Not seeing that championship contender this year. And that does include Ryan Blaney. And I hate to say that because I like Ryan Blaney. I like his personality. He's good for NASCAR. He's good for Ford. He's good for Team Penske. But I'm just not seeing it this year because I'm not seeing the collective performance out of Ford that I was expecting to see at this point in time. It's just too much pressure on that 12 car.
Yep.
Way too much pressure on that 12 car.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up this weekend, another big show. Hope you join us then for it. 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Talk 99.5 FM in the Birmingham area. Talk995.com. If you are not able to check us out via radio, you can check us out there. You can also check us out on Real Talk 99.5 TV or also on YouTube, CRN Live. Hope you join us then. Again, that's Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Thanks to producer John, producer Molly, my co-host Matt. I'm Steve West. This has been the latest edition of Crossed Flags.
You've been listening to Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. For more content like this, subscribe to CRN Live on YouTube, and you'll be set to catch the 2-hour live show every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.